This is Catholic Forum. I'm Bob Krebs. Aaron Lemma is the Director of U.S. Operations for Water is Life Kenya. I'd like to welcome to Catholic Forum, Aaron Lemma.
Thanks for having me, Bob. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. We're going to talk about this interesting career that you have, working with the people of Kenya to bring them potable water. Before we do that, let's talk a little bit about you.
Sure.
What do we need to know about Aaron Lemma?
Sure. So in Catholic settings, I tell people that I'm a graduate of 4 Catholic schools.
All right.
So all the way from elementary school to postgrad.
Which ones?
So I'm from Pennsylvania originally. So St. Aloysius in Pottstown, Pope John Paul II High School, and then St. Joe's University in Newman for a master's.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
So I like to say I have the Jesuits and the Franciscans to balance me out, and the diocesan too.
There are a lot of jokes there that we don't have time to do today.
What? I got a couple in up my sleeve. Yeah.
I'm sure. What else?
So I after I graduated college, I graduated in 2020, and I was originally planning on a career in health services. And then the pandemic happened, and I wanted to pivot. I didn't necessarily want to go into the healthcare field, so I did a teaching program through St. Joe's, and I was actually a teaching fellow for 2 years. So I taught science and math at my 5th Catholic school, which was Newman Goretti in South Philly. So I did that for a couple years, had a great experience, and in doing that, I ended up showing a lot of David Attenborough documentaries because we kind of we ran out of activities to do, virtually. I was just showing all of these videos about the beauty of the world and creation, and I kind of rediscovered my love for the earth, and so I kind of had this question of, well, what do I want to do with my life, right? Do I want to keep teaching, or do I want to do something different? And I felt called to work in the environment. It was actually my prayer to work on the front lines of the environmental crisis that's happening. So kind of the principal piece of theology, you could say, that has grounded my faith life and my life to this point is Laudato Si. So Pope Francis's encyclical on caring for the earth. So I kind of just had this prayer, and then through the Jesuit network up there, I got sent a job application for Water is Life Kenya. It's just at the time, it was an organization that was around for 15 years, and I just felt like it was exciting, and it was it's been around, but it was also fresh, and it was going to be a place that I could really I can use my skills and abilities for a good cause.
So tell us about Water is Life Kenya. How did it get started, and what does it do?
Yeah, great. It's one of my favorite stories to tell. So it was started by a Catholic family here in the Diocese of Wilmington. They're the Tanyan family. And so the story goes like this. Joyce Tanyan, who is my boss and our executive director and co-founder, she was actually in New York during 9/11. She was working at HBO, and she tells the story of even when that day happened, and even getting home that day, it was hard to imagine that the world had changed this much. It's hard to imagine that people would put such a hateful action into the world. And so she started to ask the question, like, if this is what it looks like to plan for hate, what would it be like to plan for love, like if we actually tried to strategized about putting love into action. And so she got involved in volunteering, and she volunteered, right after 9/11. There was a lot of community work that was done, supporting firefighters and victims' families. And she just kind of continued that. She handed out sandwiches under the boardwalk in Coney Island, and all around New York and New Jersey. Just got involved, and from what I understand, found meaning and purpose in serving others. And so, she actually, people ask a lot, like, why Kenya, right? How did how did you choose Kenya?
Right.
And so she actually she visited a friend that she met, in school, and he was Kenyan. And so she went as a tourist, as a lot of people's first trip to Kenya is. It's a world wildlife destination. It's like if you want to see elephants and lions and cheetahs, and it's like it's that's the place that you go. Mm-hmm. So she went to Kenya as a tourist, fell in love with it. And I don't know if you've ever been on a vacation where you come back and you kind of want to tell everybody about it. Mm-hmm. But it was a little bit like that. And then, a couple months later, her friend found a newspaper clipping about a volunteer opportunity in Kenya. So there was a chance to support this organization that was helping girls go to school, and it was a year-long volunteer program. And so, she went to her parents and she said, "Hey, can we, what do you think about me doing this?" And her mom said, "Well, your uncle was a missionary, so it's in your blood. Just go do it. Just if you feel like you're being called to it, just go do it." So she went, and on that experience, she was raising money for girls to go to school. And what she realized in this kind of remote region in southern Kenya, you can raise money for school fees, but what really is the issue is water. And so girls were waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning, walking 3 hours with their moms to collect water, and it wasn't clean, and they would haul it back, and when they got back they had to do all the chores. So she saw this and realized that the school fees are an initial thing that you can do, but what's really going to help is water. Mm-hmm. So she called her parents and said, after all of this whole experience, which was just kind of mind blowing and opening up hearts and she called her parents and said, can we do something? And Dr. Tanyan, who I had the pleasure of working with for the last couple of years of his life, he just passed in March.
That's her dad?
Her dad, yeah. Dr. Francis Tanyan. My good friend, he was a professor of economics at the University of Delaware for many years, and a lifelong Catholic, along with his wife Beatrix, Irish Catholic from Boston. So he had a doer streak to him. He wanted to get things done.
Right.
And so Joyce called and said, "Can we do something?" And he said, "If God wants us to help His people, then we will do it, and it will happen." And so they actually raised money for the first well, and they worked with the oratory down at University of Delaware, and that was their church community. Mm-hmm. That was the first project, and now we've done close to 35 projects, helped 100,000 people have clean water.
Wow.
And started a lot of other programs along the way over in Kenya.
What an amazing story, how one young woman could have a transformative experience and how something so good can come from something so evil. From 9/11. So that's a great story. You focus on the Maasai people, correct?
That's right.
Tell us about the Maasai.
Yeah, great. Thanks for asking. So if you look at a map of where humans migrated out of Africa, all of the maps draw back right to this point. This is the Rift Valley, kind of in Kenya and Tanzania. This is an old place. Okay, these cultures are very old.
I mean, really old.
Really old. Yes. I mean, we're talking, the
first humans.
Yes, right. Yeah, first humans. I mean, Homo sapiens. The debate is, there's still a debate about how long. But 250,000 years of Homo sapiens, and then kind of like out of the savannas of Africa is where human evolution really kind of goes back to. I love that stuff and that story. I used to teach it when I was in biology. I find a lot of joy in thinking about our past, where we come from, and then where we're going to. But
that Adam and Eve may have been Maasai.
I'll let that's your theological inquisition. Maybe. Yeah. So, but it's an ancient culture. Except, you go there and you meet with people, and they're livestock keepers. Okay, so they have cows and they have goats. It's also a very male-dominated society, as a lot of traditional societies are. So the Maasai, they have cows and goats, and they used to be semi-nomadic, so they would move around. And there's actually there's a really good map that I like to show, and it's the rainfall in Africa over the course of a year. And the way the rainy seasons work is it goes up, it almost goes up to the Sahara Desert, and then it goes down, all the, kind of to the South Africa. And so there's 2 rainy seasons every year. And those, the rainy seasons, the rain comes, the pastures bloom with fresh grass, and then all of the herds of wildebeests and the different herds of wild animals follow this pattern, this kind of cyclical pattern. And that's what the Maasai did as well, right? They followed the fresh grasses. They went where there was pasture. They went where there was water. And that's how they lived for many, thousands of years. And, then with modernity and country lines being drawn and, places becoming more settled, the Maasai became more settled too. So now they kind of still have a lot of these traditional aspects to them of keeping livestock. There's still this idea of the more livestock people have, the wealthier they are. So that's kind of it. But then at the same time, people have cell phones. Right, so they skipped analog. They went right to digital, and they're and the phone calls. People are on the phone all the time. They're on Facebook and and WhatsApp, and they might be saying, "Hey, there's really good grass over here. Like, bring the cows over." Right. Now, people are also since probably about 2000, people have really been focusing on sending their kids to school too. Mm-hmm. So the culture is changing as students are becoming more educated, as young people are learning, learning how to read, how to write, how to be a professional, right? But at the same time, the Kenyan economy doesn't really allow for too many. Like, there's not that many jobs. Mm-hmm. So the culture is. The traditions are threatened. The culture is still alive. The future for young people is very uncertain. And so we kind of work in all of those different pockets. Like, one of our programs, Livestock as a Business, we help those herders, people who have their herds of livestock, we help them run it more like a business rather than, I'm just going to have as many cows as I can.
Right.
Because when the drought eventually comes, which happens about every 7 years, and the droughts are becoming more intense and longer. If you have a big herd and you're not prepared, right? Like, we try to encourage people. You want to sell like maybe half of your cows, and then you have funds to keep the other cows alive, and then your whole entire family system doesn't collapse. But people don't want to sell their cows, and people, the cows are like it's like they don't have bank accounts over there. They have cows, right?
Yeah, right.
And so, just imagine if your bank account went down because it didn't rain, right?
Yeah.
So it's a totally different way of life, but people are ready to learn. They want better lives for themselves and their families. They want funds to send their kids to school. They want to be able to take care of things. Yeah.
They want the same thing everybody else in the world wants.
Yeah, exactly.
My guest today on Catholic Forum is Aaron Lemma. He is the Director of U.S. Operations for Water is Life Kenya. And we were talking about the Maasai people, and you can't raise cattle without water. That's why water is life for these folks. So what is a average water project? What does that entail?
That's a great question. So these water systems that we install, they end up being both for people and for livestock. Okay, because the livestock is the engine of the economy. So the water is when we drill a well, it serves like the whole community and the livestock. So what it entails is, usually somebody comes to us and say like, hey, we really need water over here. We'll go and we'll do a needs assessment and we'll see, okay, do they need water? And also, do they want a project? Or is there a project nearby that they can actually access? So we really invest a lot in making sure like this is a good place for a project. And we really want that partnership from the community, right? We don't just go in and say, you all need this. We're going to give it to you, right? It's a mutual.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it has to be maintained.
Exactly.
And so forth. So they have to buy in. Absolutely.
Exactly. So, and then we do a survey, hydrogeological survey, and we drill. And the water in this, so this region is right near Mount Kilimanjaro, which is the tallest mountain in Africa. And it's actually the tallest freestanding mountain in the world, so not a part of a mountain range. And so for most of our projects, you can look up and see the mountain. It's miraculous. And so the water table, it's not necessarily a water table like there's aquifers. It's more like there's kind of fissures in the rock and this water goes really deep. So we have to drill really deep. We've drilled wells up to 1,000 feet deep. Wow. So the other component is that there's elephants. Okay. And elephants can smell, they can remember a water point from 50 miles away. Right. So the elephants are they're a part of the community. They're a part of life. And so our projects need to be elephant proof. So built out of reinforced concrete, not just like tin, metal slabs put up, and buried pipelines. Right, so it's a big capital investment, but you end with water storage, you end with a community water point, you end with animal troughs for them to drink water, and there's even some circumstances where we pipe the water a little bit further over here because this is where there's a group of people kind of habitating, and then there's maybe a school over here. So our projects change based on what the community needs and the situation, but it's about $80,000 to $100,000 for a project. Wow. Yeah, and so that's a borehole project. We also do. We have a group of engineers that travels over. They give up their vacation time to go to Kenya and install the custom gutter system on the roofs of school buildings. So it's a rainwater catchment. So the water situation it's different. No matter where you are. And so we always try to meet the needs of the community. But the real key here is we train the local community on how to manage the project. So each project has a water management committee. Those are elected members of the community, and they are involved with maintaining the project over time, actually collecting small water tariffs. You pay for water, I pay for water, right? There's a notion that like water can be free, and the way the economics work is that actually if you have people pay a little bit, then there's a fund for maintenance, and there might actually be a fund for development later on. This is the first public utility in these communities, right? Yeah. So that's what our projects are like.
And you have other projects too, other than the water project, which is the main project, or the primary. Yeah. Talk a little bit about those. Please.
Sure. So, we say where water is life, Kenya. It's a saying in Maasai, Enkare and Kishui. That's water is life, right? But I've recently been calling us water and life, Kenya, because we focus on the water and we focus on life. So we have, like I said, Dr. Tanyan, who I learned so much from, he was a professor of economics. So he understood that in order for these water projects to be successful, people in the community needed to be able to make money for themselves. Mm-hmm. And so our other programs really focus on that aspect. It's how do we help people generate income? So the Livestock as a Business program focuses on helping people have healthier herds, time the market, vaccinate your animals, just earn a profit on your livestock, not just keep livestock because that's what everybody else is doing. Mm-hmm. And then we have a program. Called Beaded Handicrafts. So we actually purchase products directly from artisans over there. We sell some of them in Kenya, and then we sell them here in the United States too. So like my cool Kenyan bracelet. This was actually a gift from one of the projects. But these different products that are handmade, we bring them when we work with a parish, or we work with we give a talk at different clubs. It's a way that we can generate a little bit more income and pay people fair wages. And then the kind of the big program we've been focused on in the past couple of years is a program that was actually supported by the Raskob Foundation. They helped pilot it, and it's called Hope for Widows. So in this society, when a woman's husband dies, she's left vulnerable. Okay, so it's actually a polygamous society. So men can have multiple wives, just culturally, and so you might have a man that has a wife who's a little bit younger, and then there's one who's kind of maybe in like her 30s, and then one who's in her 40s or something like that. And so when a man dies, it could leave 3 widows. And now those women are not allowed to remarry culturally, because their children are seen as property of the husband's family. So the other thing is they're left vulnerable to people from her husband's family or other places coming in. Like, we've actually heard stories of people come in, like the brothers of the husband come in and take her things, right? If she has livestock, they feel like they're entitled to the livestock. We've heard of people taking mattresses, cups, like they're totally left defenseless. And they were totally dependent on their husbands, just the way the society works. Like, a lot of them don't even maybe you leave to get water, but that's when you leave, right? There's actually, like, most of these women, I think it's 98% of these women are illiterate. They don't have skills. They have to then provide for their families all by themselves. The husband's family rarely chips in to like pay for the kids. So, these women are left stranded, and they have nowhere to go. Really, they have nothing going for them, and it's a cultural stigma of sharing that experience with others. So this program, what it does is we identify these widows, these needy women, and we group them together. We bring them together, and they share their stories with each other for the first time. And when they share their stories, they are you can see them like they remember who they are, right? They're that burden that they've been carrying around is beginning to be lifted off, and then they have a sisterhood, right?
Just to have somebody to talk to.
Exactly.
That does worlds of wonder, I would think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then we teach them business skills. So we teach them about buying and selling. We teach them about, how to work in the market. We teach them about livestock and how to care for livestock. We teach them about family health, like just things. We even teach them about their rights as a widow. Like, a lot of widows we found don't actually know that they can go to the county government and get a death certificate for their husband and get entitled to, like, it's not the most support, but they get entitled to something. Yeah. So, it's that kind of work. And then we give them 3 goats and a grant to start their business. Wow. And so we just had a goats, grants, and graduation ceremony a couple weeks ago. We've had 150 women be a part of the program so far. And the women, they're in disbelief, right? Like, we give them a grant. It's $150, which is more money than they've ever even, ever held in their hand, ever had access to. And then we give them their goats, so 2 females and a male, so they can grow their herd over time, so short term and long term. And the women, they're like, "This is really ours?" All right. And then, we at this ceremony, we had community members be a part of the ceremony, and they say, "Why would you, Water is Life, why would you spend all of this time and money to help these women? Like, why? They're just widows." And we believe they deserve a shot, and it's in the Bible, it's in the gospel. It's like, care for the widows and the orphan. Yeah. We felt like we were called to help the most needy of this society, because when you lift up the most needy, everybody else is lifted up too. Yeah. So it's an amazing program. It's incredibly successful, and people's lives are being changed.
You mentioned something about it's in the Bible, but this is not a Catholic or a Christian organization, but it's got Catholic all over it.
Yeah. We're internally Catholic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not evangelizing at all, is that right?
No, we don't specifically evangelize
Right.
to these communities. It's more of we love them.
Yeah.
Right. That's our duty.
That's
right.
the evangelization.
Yeah.
right.
Our duty is we love them, and it's actually a lot of people are Christian in this area. Missionaries have made their ways there, and what we're trying to do is help them unleash their potential, right? And in doing so, there's just there's more capital, there's more people, people can make decisions for themselves, and then they can live out their potential, their gospel call themselves, right? So it's a little bit more indirect, but it's very much like we internally, we are faith driven. Again, founded by the Tanyans, who are the most devout Catholic people I've ever met in my entire life. I'm honored to be a part of this work. As a young man, I thought that, I'm like, is there ever a way that I'm going to be able to plug in, my skills? Like, is there ever going to be, I want to find that. And I found these incredible people, and I've just been so blessed to help them. Like, let's move this thing along. Yeah. Let's put some energy behind it. Let's put some, let's go out and build relationships with people.
Let's talk about a success story. I'm sure you have many, about an individual or a village or something. Can you share one or two quick success stories with us?
Sure. So there's a widow. Her name is Koyaso, and Koyaso, she, I believe she's in the first group of Hope for Widows. So, she was a widow. She became a widow at about 40 years old. She had 4 kids. She says that when she was walking, before this program, when she would walk down the street, people would walk the other direction, okay? Because she had to beg, right? Mm-hmm. She was reduced to begging for any kind of funds, any kind of money. Her kids were not in school. What happens is people will send their kids to school, and then tuition's free, but school fees are not free. It might be, for elementary school, it might be a few $100s a year. For high school, it might be $1,000 or, a little bit more. And so widows would send their kids to school, and then they'd get sent home because of no school fees. And so Koyaso was in that situation. We actually, in our data collection, we ask, how many meals are you eating a week? And Koyaso herself, she was trying to feed her kids 1 meal a day, but she herself was eating about maybe 4 meals a week. Okay. And then, she goes to the Hope for Widows. She shares her story. She learns all this, business stuff. And then, we give her a goat her goats in her grant. And then, some time goes by. We have field assistants who go and monitor these widows every week to see how they're doing, see how their stock is doing. But our team might not see her until maybe once a month. And so one day we're driving to a different project, a water project, and we see this. Koyaso's a short lady. She's like maybe 4'10". Okay, we see this lady with a stack about as tall as she is on her head, and we're driving, and she's waving like, "Hey, hey!" It's Koyaso, and she has a textile business. So she pays for a motorcycle taxi. She goes down to Tanzania. There's a market there that has a lot of textiles. She picks out the most beautiful textiles, collects them, buys them at cost, brings them up, and then sells them to women, to widows, to other families in the community. And she's kicking butt. I mean, she's seriously, she went from making, it might have been something like, I don't know the exact numbers, but it's something around maybe $10 a month to then $80 a month. I mean, seriously, her life was totally transformed. And then the best part is that she says, now, when I'm walking down the street, people come up to me. Right, I'm no longer a beggar. People see me as a business lady. Yeah. Right, they see me as somebody who has something to offer, and she can now she can stand in front of people and talk. She can stand in front of people and lead prayer. Right, I mean, she's out of her shell completely, and her kids are in school, and stories like that. It's that's when Dr. Tanyan said, if God wants us to help his people, like, then it will happen.
Yeah.
When that's where we are, you know. So that's what we do, and that's a success story.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
So how can our listeners, our viewers get more information? How can they help?
Sure. So waterislifekenya.org is the place to go to get all kinds of information about us. You could contact me directly, aaron@waterislifekenya.org. The way that we have been working in the diocese is we've been partnering with parishes. So we'll come for a weekend, set up our beaded handicrafts, kind of this beautiful display of all kinds of different items. Some are made out of hand-rolled paper, some are made by the Maasai community, and it's just a beautiful collection. So we'll set up, talk for a few minutes at the end of the service, and just what we find is that we want people. It's not for everybody, but it's for some people, and we've had a lot of widows actually come up to us and say, like, this is what I've been waiting for, right? We've been working with kind of parishes, and we're always looking to work with more parishes, and bring our message of hope. Of hope. We want to hopefully inspire people to be connected to this global family that we're being a part of. But we also have a dream of working a little bit more intentionally with different ministry groups at parishes. So whether it's, there's a few widows and widower groups that we would love to, just come and share a little bit with, dialogue with. There's social justice groups we'd like to, work with. Knights of Columbus, Columbites. Our vision is we can continue to kind of tend to the spiritual needs of the diocese of people in the Diocese of Wilmington. It's something we want to do. Mm-hmm. So we would if that's interesting to anybody, I hope that they reach out, say, hey, I heard you on the dialogue, and I heard you on Catholic Forum, and I want to. We'd love for you to come down and give a presentation or lead a discussion.
So they can, excuse me, could they buy products from the website?
Yeah. Okay. We have a store on Etsy. We have some products listed.
Right.
Our in-person setup, there's a lot of variety of products.
Right.
So our in-person setup is always, good. But yeah, we have a shop on Etsy. Right. We also, we're always accepting donations.
So you can make a secure donation from that website.
That's right. Yeah, waterislifekenya.org. Yes, you can make a donation. You can designate it for the project that you're interested in supporting. You could also donate a goat if you want. A goat, the market price is $70. We'll make sure it goes to the Hope for Widows program.
So we don't have to actually buy the goat.
No.
Take it home.
It's much more efficient if we buy it in Kenya. Let me tell you, it's too much. TSA does not like when you bring a goat. We've tried. No.
Aaron Lemma, thanks so much for being with us today on Catholic Forum. It was a great pleasure to talk with you. I understand you're getting married in the very near future,
yes.
And we hope that God continues to bless you and your wife and your marriage and your wonderful ministry with Waters Life Kenya. It was great chatting with you today.
Thank you so much, Bob. I really appreciate it. Yes. Thank you.